Yo guys, what is up? Max for Diablo 4 video, and today we're going over my Overpower Werebear Druid leveling guide. Now, the point of this guide is to get you the aspects and the things that you need to succeed up until World Tier 4. I will have a separate guide for a endgame Werebear Druid, but the point of this guide is to direct you to the exact dungeons that you need to go to get certain aspects, the easy vampire powers that we're going to be picking up to increase the damage and the survivability of our build, and exactly what you need to know. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's get right into it. So in my testing, Werebear Druid is just slightly slower than Lightning Storm Druid. However, I think with some of the new aspects, it might be able to catch up, if not do better than Lightning Storm, which I also will have a leveling guide for if you want to try that right out. Now, this new aspect, the Raw Might aspect, we're going to be able to acquire around level 10 to 15 because it's going to be the Seasonal Journey aspect. And it reads, after you hit 15 enemies with your Werebear skills, your next Werebear skill will deal 30% multiplicative more damage and stun enemies for 2 seconds. This is going to be up practically all the time because of the fact that right now the leveling meta is going to be leveling in domain tunnels, which is a ton of enemy density, and we're going to be able to constantly swap this in on aspects. I'd probably try to recommend putting this aspect on a ring to start, just because ring slots are really not important. For example, if you get a better weapon, you're going to want to put that better weapon on. You're not going to want to have to be trailing 10 levels behind it in your weapon because you put this aspect on. So I'd recommend putting this on a ring as soon as you possibly can, and then just rocking that ring to get this damage increase. Now, for our leveling planner, I'm going to be going step by step on what skills to put in, and we're going to take breaks along the way to get certain aspects and do certain vampire powers. So let's get right into it. So to start, we're going to be putting points into Storm Strike. This is going to give us some damage reduction when we hit enemies, and then we're going to grab Enhanced Storm Strike to get the Immobilize, and then that unlocks Pulverize for us. With Pulverize, we're going to be going Pulverize to Enhanced Pulverize. This gives us a Overpower, and then we're going to be going to Primal Pulverize. This means enemies hit with Pulverize deal 20% reduced damage for 4 seconds. We do not need to worry about this stun because we're going to have tons of stuns from our Raw Might aspect. And then we need another point to get down to here. So we're going to be putting one more point into Pulverize. It's going to increase its damage. And then we have our choice of defensive skills. I'm going to recommend Blood Howl. Blood Howl is going to heal us. And in order to overpower, we need to remain healthy. So getting this big chunk of healing just as an insta-click is going to be really nice. Enhanced Blood Howl in Domain Tunnels is going to allow us to have this up a lot of the time because we're going to get reduced cooldown. And Innate Blood Howl is going to give us that 20 Spirit gen. Spirit is going to be a big issue. You're going to see me focus on it quite a bit as we go through here. After we grab that, we're going to be grabbing Fierce Storm Strike. This gives us our first chance to make enemies vulnerable. Vulnerable is being changed, but at base, it's still 20% more damage to vulnerable enemies, which is going to be quite nice. Then we're going to come back down here. No, we still need one more point to get in here. Put one more point into Pulverize. It's going to increase its base damage. And then we're going over to Poison Creeper. We're going to grab Poison Creeper, Enhanced Poison Creeper. Here we could go Crit Chance. Crit Chance really isn't going to be that important for us to start. We're rather going to be going for the Ferocious Poison Creeper. This is going to increase the damage that Poison Creeper does, and Poison Creeper is, without a doubt, the best ability that Druid gets early on. Out of all of the abilities that Druid has access to, this will straight up kill entire groups of enemies for you. It's really, really nice. However, because we're going to be going from Pulverize and then hitting with our Storm Strike and casting the Blood Howl and doing our Poison Creeper, we're also going to pick up Clarity, which I don't normally grab. We're actually going to put 3 points here. Gain 6 Spirit when transforming into human form. You're going to want to be weaving in your basic attacks, and this is going to allow us a lot of Spirit gain where we normally wouldn't have. And on top of getting Spirit gain, we're then next going to be going for Trample, Enhanced Trample, and then most importantly, Savage Trample. As you can see, the biggest limiting aspect for our damage and clear potential as a Druid early on is Spirit, and so we're going to be focusing on that pretty heavily. Now, we need 3 more points to get to our ultimate, and we're going to be dumping those points into Pulverize to get it to max level, and then we're going to be 1 point away from our ultimate, and then we're going to toss 1 more point into Poison Creeper, and this unlocks our ultimate. Now we're at level 24. We're going to take a quick break to go get some aspects. If you're doing the domain tunnel strategy, depending on how efficient you are, if you're playing with a group or not, you'll probably hit level 24, level 25 in around 2 hours of playtime. So you can just blast that very, very quickly. To put on our aspects, we're going to be putting on the Raw Might aspect. This is going to give us that damage and that stun, which is going to be really nice for our Pulverize. We're also going to be picking up the Vampiric power Domination. Whoop, I spelled that wrong. Domination is going to give us that damage increase against those stunned enemies, and if they're they're low health, they're just going to die instantly anyways if they're injured, which is going to be really nice. We're also going to grab Hemomancy. This is going to give our attacks 80% of our max life as physical damage to nearby enemies. This is also going to allow us to heal for a percentage of our max life for each enemy damaged this way. Pulverize hits in a pretty big area, and Poison Creeper hits in an even bigger area. Getting this to proc on Poison Creeper will basically fill us up a ton of HP, which is going to be really nice. And now we've got a lot of synergy between Poison Creeper immobilizing enemies and our Pulverize is going to be stunning enemies, and that's where we're going to now go grab our very first Spirit Boon, which is going to be Pack Leader. Critical strikes have a 20% chance to reset the cooldown of our companion skills. This is going to allow us to reset Poison Creeper, which is once again our best skill. We can now spec into our ultimate, which if you're okay with respecking, I'd recommend going Petrify to grab Supreme Petrify so that we can get Spirit back when we kill an enemy. However, we are going to be solving our Spirit issues very soon. So if you don't want to respec, I'd recommend going straight into Grizzly Rage. This is going to give us Fortify a life per second, Unstoppable, which is all going to be really nice. And then we're going to be grabbing 3 more points, which we're going to be putting into Poison Creeper to max it out. This will now basically one-shot entire groups of enemies, no issues. Poison Creeper is going to be doing so much damage for us. Now that we're level 30, we can take on some harder dungeons and get some aspects that are a little bit later on in the game. The first aspect that we're going to go grab is Aspect of the Umbral. Restore 1 to 4 of your primary resource when you crowd control an enemy. This is going to be really nice, and we're going to be pairing it with the aspect of the Quicksand. This can be found in Feral's Den in Scosglen. Damage from Earth skills slows enemies by 25%. This now means that anytime we hit an enemy with our Pulverize, they're going to be slowed, which is a crowd control. So every enemy that we hit with Pulverize is going to give us 1 resource back. This is going to solve a lot of our issues with our resources, which is why I said, like, if you can go Petrify to start, but we're eventually going to be swapping out of it because we should, at this point, be feeling a lot better with our resource generation. Next up, we're going to grab Aspect of Retaliation. Our core skills deal 20 to 40% increased damage based on our amount of Fortify. This is unlocked by completing the Seaside Descent in Dry Steppes. And we're also going to be grabbing the power, Sanguine Brace. We're just grabbing minor powers here. I don't know how easy it is going to be slotting major powers while we're leveling, but Sanguine Brace is going to be read whenever we kill an enemy, we fortify for 6% of our base life. While you have more fortify than half your maximum life, you gain 8% crit strike chance. So Aspect of Retaliation is going to give us more damage with our fortify. Now we're going to be fortifying with our kills, and we also just picked up that more crit chance. So now we're sitting on a decent bit of crit chance for like how low level we are. On top of that, we're also going to be grabbing Scythe Talons for the 5% increased critical strike chance. This is just a nice thing to have. And we're also going to be grabbing Obsidian Slam. Every 20th kill will cause your next Earth skill to overpower. This should be relatively easy to grab because you don't need to invest a ton into this road to pick this up. We're grabbing all of these, which are going to be super nice because you don't have to invest much into them in terms of the powers, and they're all going to be very beneficial. So more crit chance and guaranteed overpowers on our next Earth skill. We've still got 4 more points we need to invest to get our ultimate, so we're going to be putting 3 points into Predatory Instinct. This is going to give us increased crit chance, and 1 point into Quick Shift. This is going to give us increased damage whenever a shapeshifting skill transforms us, and then we're going to grab Ursine Strength. This was just buff. It's going to give us 20% additional maximum life, which once again, Overpower scales off of, and the Vampire power that we're using scales off of our max life. So this is damage increase for both, and we're going to deal increased damage while we're healthy, and we get increased overpower damage. This is just fantastic. We're still only level 35 though, so we're going to want to try to hit to the 40 mark before I recommend grabbing the most important aspect for this whole build. And to do that, we're going to need to pick up a bit more survivability. So we're going to be grabbing 3 points into Iron Fur. This is going to give us 9% damage reduction while we're in Werebear form, which is now going to be basically all the time, and that damage reduction is going to persist. And we're also going to grab 1 point into Heart of the Wild and 3 into Wild Impulses. With the Umbral aspect, we should now have a lot more management of our spirit. This is just going to give us even more damage for our Pulverize to clear out enemies quickly. It is going to make us cost more spirit, but we should have solved a lot of our spirit issues just then. Now we're level 42, and I think we should be on the right path to go take on the most important dungeon that we're going to need to do at this point, which is in Howitzer. So the most important aspect that we can grab is Aspect of the Earth Sign Har. This reads Pulverize is now also an Earth skill. After casting Pulverize, Tectonic Spikes continue to deal X damage over 2 seconds. You can find this in the Belfry, Zakara, and Howitzer. It might be a little bit of a challenge at this point. You can always wait to take it on, but this aspect is really going to pull everything together and is as important as any of these other aspects for this build. Probably the most important aspect that we can get at this point, because it's going to allow us to scale Pulverize now also off of Earth damage, and it will also get the nature damage scaling tag, which we'll talk about in a second here. At this point, before you go to Howitzer, I also recommend picking up Wariness. This is going to allow us to take 10% reduced damage from elites, which will improve our survivability even more. And we can also try to pick up the Ballistic aspect. This means when we have Fortify, our Earth skills gain +2. This is going to be even more damage, and at this point, we should be having tons of Fortify. And then we can go take on the Howitzer damage dungeon and get the aspect of the Earth Sign Har, and I'll show you how crazy that's going to allow us to get. So now Pulverize is an Earth skill, meaning we can pick up Crushing Earth to deal 15% increased damage to slowed, stunned, immobilized, or knocked back enemies, which is basically everything that we're going to be fighting. We're going to be putting 1 point into Safeguard. Critical strikes with Earth skills fortify you for 2% of our max life. We do have a ton of sources of Fortify, and we get more critical strike chance based on our amount of Fortify. So this will help a ton. And we're also going to be grabbing Stone Guard. While you have Fortify for over 50% of your max life, your Earth skills deal 12% increased damage. This is another damage increase for us. And it's also going to allow us to move over here to pick up Defiance. Nature Magic skills deal 12% increased damage to elites. We're going to be putting 1 point into Circle of Life. This is going to allow us to heal every time we cast Pulverize. And then 3 points into Resonance. Nature Magic skills deal 6% increased damage. Triple this bonus if an Earth skill is the next skill cast after a Storm skill, or a Storm skill is the next skill cast after an Earth skill. Now you'd be like, hey, what Storm skills are we using? We have Storm Strike. So cast a Storm Strike and then Pulverize, and now it gets this 9% or 6% damage increase tripled, which is going to be even more damage for our Pulverize, and that leads us with 3 more points to spend. At this point, if you're no longer having spirit issues, we can take these points out of Clarity, and then we're going to be putting them 1 into Neurotoxin, 3 into Envenom. This is going to give us a 30% more damage, or crit damage, against poison enemies, which we will have poisoned a lot of the time because we should have fairly decent uptime on our Poison Creeper. And we're also going to be grabbing 2 more points into Quick Shift for whenever we transform. We're going to get 15% increased damage. So you Storm Strike to get the multiplier from Resonance, and when you transform from your Storm Strike attack, you're going to be getting this damage multiplier and this damage multiplier, which should lead to a whole lot more damage from Pulverize, and that is the build. Now, these are what I would consider the core aspects, the core powers, the core spirit boons for this build. Obviously, you're going to want to keep going and grab more things. So for the last spirit boon, I'd recommend grabbing the 14% increased max life. If you're feeling squishy, you can grab this prior to grabbing the crit chance. But max life is going to, 1, give us more overpower damage, more survivability, which is going to be really, really nice. And then we've got those 2 big increases of our max life. For aspects, obviously, the big one that you're looking for to get once you're closer into a higher level is the Shockwave aspect. For Pulverize, creates a shockwave that travels along the ground. This is going to be fantastic. For other defensive aspects, we're going to be grabbing the Aspect of Might. Whenever we basic attack, we're going to get that 20% damage reduction. That's going to be really nice. And then we're also going to be slapping the Disobedience aspect on our helmet to gain even more armor. Armor is weaker this season, but it also got buffed in the amount of armor you get. And so stacking up a bunch of armor is going to be still very, very nice. So these are the kind of roundabout aspects that I would grab. And then for our major powers, once you're at that point, this is obviously like transitioning from World Tier 4 to 3. From 3 to 4, we're going to grab Blood Boil. This is going to give our core skills Overpower, which is going to spawn 3 volatile blood drops. Collecting a volatile blood drop causes it to explode, dealing 60% physical damage around you. Every 20 seconds, your next skill is guaranteed to overpower. This is going to give us more overpower and these like volatile blood explosions, which should be really cool. That is going to do it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will have the full written guide with the full leveling path for exactly what point to put in at which level, so you can have a quick reference while you're playing the game for your season journey. I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for more Druid guides. I'll catch you all in the next one, guys. Take care. Peace.